JDBC is involved directly or indirectly for getting a connection with the database, regardless of the type of framework or technology. Without using JDBC, we cannot able to connect with the database using Java only. Means we need the JDBC concept. You have seen the Hibernate also. Inside that also, we can see that JDBC code was there, but additionally, we added the HQL. In the industry also, the main thing will be the HQL itself. Means we use Hibernate with the Spring integration. Okay, but we need a knowledge on Spring JDBC also. So what is Spring JDBC? What are the terms we need that we have to see? Okay, so the connectivity code here also will be same. The URL, username, password, the driver class name, it's mandatory. Without those things, you cannot connect to a database anytime. Okay, so what are the problems with the JDBC we have seen? The JDBC technology, exceptions are checked. Means what? We need to write the try-catch block every time. The same thing we have seen. And if we open the connection with the database, we have to close the connection compulsorily. Okay? So if we use a JDBC, here it throws some codes, I said, like ORA, like 102010. This kind of codes it throws, which are not aware of a programmer. The programmer is not aware of them, which are totally related to the database. Right? Now, so we have the Spring JDBC layer. The Spring framework has provided one abstraction layer on top of existing JDBC technology. So what you are saying that the same JDBC what you have seen, we will see that along with that we have an existing JDBC technology, like what you can say abstraction layer, and we used to call this layer as Spring JDBC. Okay, so here Spring JDBC layer will take care about the connection management and error management, and the programmers will concentrate on their logics. That is the thing. And what the Spring JDBC has provided, or the Spring framework has provided, is nothing but we have an exception translator. So what do you mean by this exception translator? By using this, we can translate the checked exceptions obtained using the JDBC to unchecked exceptions of Spring. And finally, the unchecked exceptions are thrown to Java programmer. Like we have this try-catch, right? Why use this try-catch? It's nothing but to handle the unchecked exceptions because compiler can't access them, right? So this exception translator will translate the checked exceptions also to the unchecked exceptions of Spring. Okay, so both the things we can handle now. Now, a Java application can get connection with database using two following ways. What are two following ways we have? We had the driver manager in JDBC, right? Here, first thing is java.sql.driver manager, and second thing javax.sql.data source. And here what that Spring is using, Spring framework uses the Spring framework uses a data source interface. Data source is an interface. Suppose if you want to access that directly, we need to set that path in order to access. javax.sql. If you say the data sources, or the data source thing. We got the methods, right? Get connection, and this get connection is similar to what we had with the database also, JDBC also, whose return type is a connection itself, right? So the Spring framework internally uses its data sources now. Next thing, this data source is used to get the connection object internally, right? The two implementation classes of data source interfaces, like we know that classes are required, so the two implementation classes of data source. First is this org is important, is the main package. Spring framework is there, and inside the Spring framework we have the JDBC also. Inside JDBC we have a data source. Then the driver manager data source class. If you want to see the thing package, we have Spring 2.5.6. if you are like extracting org Spring framework, we have this JDBC, the same thing, right? JDBC has the data source. Data source has the driver manager data source. That's a class, right? This is the class which we are trying to access. Okay? The same thing, org dot Spring framework dot JDBC dot data source dot driver manager data source. That's the first thing. And the second implementation class is nothing but org dot apache dot commons dot dbcp, okay, and dot basic data source. These are used in Spring framework actually as a classes. These are implemented, like these are the classes which implements the data source inside from this package JavaX. JavaX means what? External package, you can say. Okay. Now, what's the tag we have? Like in Spring config file, what are the tags we need to connect to the database? Okay. First thing, we need the username, URL, you know the things, right? We had this in Hibernate also. So the bin ID, what's that ID? You can say, I'm using the connection object if you want. Connection object class equals to org dot Spring framework, the entire class name you can say. That we need to specify. And after specifying that particular source name, what we have the property. Here the class name can be any of the two things, either the basic data source or either the driver manager data source. Okay. And now inside this we need to write the property. What property name we use generally? Like so the name, driver class name, right? And the value. What's the value we have? The oracle.jdbc.oracle driver. And what is the next thing we have? Property. Name equals to URL. Like JDBC colon, Oracle colon, or MySQL colon, thin colon, @localhost 1521 and XC. That's the database code which we need to connect. Next, I have one more thing. Like, we need the username also, right? So the name is there. What's the name? Username. And what's that value? You can say system. And the property name is what? Password. And based on that password, what you can say, what are the password you are given for the installation. And after that, bin tag is closed. So we need to fill the values, we'll fill when we are writing the code. Okay. So apart from that, we have a JDBC template class in Spring JDBC. Okay. So which is given inside the org.springframework.jdbc.core. If you want to check that thing, JDBC template in Spring. So we have this JDBC template right in the Spring framework. So it's a class which is present inside the org.springframework.jdbc.core. And this JDBC template class follows the template design pattern, like where a template class accepts the input from the user and produces the output to the user by hiding the internal details. Okay. So here JDBC template class provides the following three type of methods, you can say, which we already seen, like execute, update, execute, query we had, right? In this thing we have the methods like update, execute, update and query. Here execute and update methods are used for the DML operations like insert, update and delete. And the query method is used for the select operations on the database. Okay. And how to access the JDBC template class, which depends on data source object only. Means as it will open some database connection internally with the data source, so we must give the data source object to the JDBC template. Okay. So the reason is we have seen the data source is the right. Either we can use the driver manager or the data source. In the JDBC we use the driver manager, but in the Spring we use the data source. When you use the data source, it has the implementation classes of data source. So these are the implementation class of a data source. And now when you are having that data source object which is connected to the database, you can pass the same object for the other modules also, like execute, update and query methods. So execute and update methods use only the insert, update and delete. And the query method performs the select commands, you can say. Okay. And if you want, we have both setter and constructor injection in JDBC template class for inserting data source object. Means what? If we want to insert some data, we can use this method or object. Okay. So now how to write the difference, like what is the difference it makes inside the template, what is the object we need to create, how to create the object, that we have to see. Same thing, this is what normal configuration. So what is the example you are going to see? An example of a constructor injection. Same database connectivity code is required and everything is required. Okay. The username, URL, driver name, all the things are given. After giving that, we have one more bin tag. What is that bin tag? You can say already I've used the connection object, right? So I can use just some ID2 or ID1 object class. What is the class we have used? org.springframework.jdbc.core.jdbc templates. So if you understand this, then you'll have a better understanding. Like bin is there, the bin tag, and inside the bin tag, we are trying to cover the things. Okay. So now, what the bin tag has an object and a class, JDBC template class, and we can use either the constructor injection or the setter injection. Constructor arg and the reference. What is the reference? You can say the D1 means D1 or D2 means D2. Okay. But this is the reference which we need to point to the previous things. There is nothing but the connection. Con. This is the constructor injection. We have seen the constructor injection, right? By using which we can store the values in the object and store in the database directly. Now, the same way, if you have a setter injection, what will happen? Constructor injection in the sense we use the constructor argument tag, and then here we have one more thing known as setter injection. So same code will be there for the construction, similar to construction. Setter injection, you can say. Inside the setter injection, we don't use a constructor tag, right? As we know, we use a property tag. So to order access the particular details. So what do you have here? Property. And here the property name will be there. So what's the name? You can say anything. What class you're using, interface is using, nothing but data source. And the reference is nothing but the connection reference, you can say. Okay. So here we are creating that particular object. By using this object, you can write the code. That's the difference. Okay. So this is a setter injection what we are going to use. Now, after this, what is the next thing we have? Without the setter injection, like this name property and the reference. What is the reference? You can say the JDBC templates is referring to the object outside the connection. Right? So setter injection values are nothing but the object values are being stored inside the database. Using these tags, you can say. So till now it's clear. The property name, the property value, any trouble in this thing? Hello? Is that clear till now? Setter injection and the constructor injection.
Maybe after seeing the example, I think we can understand more.
Yeah, like the tags, whatever you're using are similar. Like we had the Hibernate, right? Hibernate also had the property tag with the name, your username and password. These are not the new things. Only the thing which is new to you will be the class. For this class, we are creating an object connection. That is nothing but the driver manager data source. Okay. So again, the JDBC template is there. If you understand this functionality, then the coding part will be clear, I'm saying. Okay. So here, the object is there which is referring to this superclass, like this particular connection object, the data source. So we don't write the Java code, like we don't write a class, interface and everything. Directly we write the tags.
The class is already existing, we are just injecting the properties.
Yes. So now, in an example, what's happening with this execute actually? This method is used to execute both DDL and DML operations, and inside the DML you can say only the insert, update and delete. Okay? And execute method allows only the SQL commands which are static. I take the parameters directly. Okay, I mean that SQL command should not contain any prepared statements. Okay, so like placeholders will be there, right? Where you send a value separately. That's not the issue with the execute. Execute is like send the values and the command at a time. Okay. For example, what you can say, we got an object. What is a JDBC template object we got? Suppose JD. By using that object and calling that method. What is that method? Execute. And insert that insert into emp values some name directly. These are given in single quotes. So now, when you call this execute method, it's a static command. How can you say it's a static command? The values are given directly. Okay? And when the execute method will execute the command and it won't return any value. Why? Because the execute return type is void. Void means what? Returns nothing. Okay? And what about this update? Update command returns 1 if the record has been inserted, and records 0 if the record has not been inserted. That's the reason we use this execute update, you can say. Okay, so after this execute update, what we need, like we have an update method also, right? So what is the update method? In Spring JDBC template, we have this update method for the DML insert, update and grid commands. And here the update method will accept either the static or dynamic SQL commands as the parameter. This is a very important point. Whenever you see the thing, update is there. Now what you can say? Dynamic. What is it? Dynamic SQL command. Whatever you want to transfer, you can transfer here directly. And whatever the object is there, object or array, you can say. So we have this JDBC template, right? We can see the methods directly here. One is what? Execute. So what is it execute method is doing, that we have to see. So callable statement execute is taking the string SQL memory and we have void. Okay, and this execute method, what is that method? You can say return type is void, and here static SQL to execute. So what are the parameters? You can say static SQL to execute. Okay. After writing this, we have one more method. What is the one more method? You can say what's the update method return type? It's an integer. And what's the parameter it's taking? Prepared statement creator, you can say. Okay. And here in the update string SQL is a different scenario. Okay. So we can take that string argument or the string argument and that object argument or different number of things we can say. Or the prepared statement as an argument. So these are the methods just now we have seen. The execute and the update methods, you can say, right? And this can be written in different ways. Why you can say we have this update, right? Where we can see the prepared statement creator object is there and the prepared statement setter or the string SQL. SQL in the sense command directly the value or the dynamic value. Okay? And here string SQL is there along with that object is there. Object is what? we have this object value which needs to be compared in the string. Okay, I can you take the parameter as previously created or the particular string according to your requirement, you can say. Okay, understood. Next, what is the next thing we have? Like, what is query method for? Already we have seen the query method, right, in JDBC already. Execute query is nothing but which writes the select command. And here also we have one more thing known as query. Execute already we have seen, the update already we have seen, and nothing but the query. So inside that query, how to retrieve the values? If I want integer, how to retrieve the value? Simple thing, we have a query method here. Inside the query, we have this for int. These are the methods present inside that particular JDBC template. Okay, so query for list, query for that particular map, and different things are there, the object or the class, row set. Okay, so that's the same thing we need to check for. If you want, you can check for the particular return type also. What's the return type of these particular things? The explanation will be there by using this particular description. Okay, and the methods are nothing but query, for, and the data type. This is syntax, you can say. Syntax in the sense any particular project you need this syntax. So have a query for int. And we have one more query like query for what we have previously it was int. If I have double means what? We'll keep the double. If the query is a for this particular database. Okay, or you can say we can have it as for the list also. List, set, collection, anything you can have it. And here we use these methods to retrieve the values, and if you want to give the total query method list, you can directly get this particular object. Just now you have seen the things, right? How many are there? All this comes into the query for row set, string, object, and everything. Okay, so now what's the return type of query for int? You can say the query for int return type is integer itself, similar to what we have seen. And now we can pass this static command or dynamic commands. So what is that we use? We use to execute the inserting rows, deleting rows, as its data type is integer itself. Okay, and log means what? Similar thing, just static and dynamic. But the thing is, we need to find or calculate more number of values, then we need the query per method. We use that value here. Okay, and what is query of object? That we have to see. Query for object is nothing but whatever the command you want, you can give it, and based on that command you need to give the class. Like here you can see query for object is there. So class required type. So what is the required type of the class? We need to specify here directly. Based on that you can write that particular code. Without that we can't write. And here what is the return type of query for object? You can say T. T means what? Unknown. So while converting we need to specify the class. Which class we need to convert, either integer, string or what. Okay, that's the main thing. Now after this Here we have query for objects in a different manner. The parameters are changing every time, right? So how to write a particular table or use a setter injection to enter the values or send the values to the database, that you can see that. So the next thing will be, we need to use this template class, JDBC template class, for different commands like insert, update, and delete. Okay, and now I need to write the program, an application you can see. What are the methods we have seen there? Fine. What are the requirements of this particular project that we have to see? One is, we are selecting the command, and whatever that logic is there, we need to write in the logic in a Java file. And the spconfig file, we pass the values to the spconfig file itself. Without that, the object cannot be injected, right? So string JDBC select, you can say. Inside the select, what are the different parameters we have that we need to check. So what's the project name? You can say Spring JDBC. Next and finish. After writing the Spring JDBC, suppose what are the tables we have that we have to see. What's that command? You can say connect system by manager. This is so what we have, we connected to the database. And what are the tables we have already? Or EMP45 you can take. EMP, there is no particular table. You want to check all the database tables, we have the staff. Select staff or tab. Select star from tab. Based on the tab, what are the databases are there? All the details got retrieved. Okay. So here I'm trying to access few files. What are the few files? You can say employee 29 or employee 43. So just we need to write EMP 43. ID, username, password, and email and the phone. All the details are there inside the employee 45 table, you can say. Okay. So now first thing we require a template file inside the location where we need to access it from. Now I need to display that object values, you can say. So here we have a method known as load all inside this particular JDBC template. Okay, or you can say here I need to search for that method. So what's the method we have? We have that load all. The load all method we can write, or if you want you can say a user defined method I'm writing. Instead of saying there's a predefined, it's not a predefined method. I'll write one more method like execute the command or get values. So what are the values are there? We are getting it by using this method, you can say. Like setter and getter methods are there, right? Similar to that, we can say we are trying to access the details. Okay. So now, what are the paths we have? What are the config XML doing? And inside that, how to write the constructor argument and which refers to which particular tag, and outright the setter injection that we have to see. Two things are the constructor arg and the setter injection, you can say. Setter injection or the constructor setter injection requires a property name, and constructor argument requires a constructor arg. Okay, I'm writing a user defined methods now. These are all the tasks we can do, we can perform, we can say. First, what is required here? The jar files we already have inside the Spring. First thing, we need to write a class, which is a select command to run that particular select command. We have the src, right click, new, and the class or interface. For the class name, you can say, I can give that class name as Spring Select. By using Spring, we are trying to select. So what is the package? You can say the package is nothing but com dot, what we have, JDBC, Spring JDBC, right? Spring JDBC. Com dot Spring JDBC. Inside that we need the particular class. First thing, we have seen the classes, and now I'm writing a variable now here. What is that variable? JDBC template, a reference I need to create. What is that JT I'm trying to create? Anything you can create, right? If I click on this, it will give error because it's not able to understand what is it. Right click on that, build path, configure build path, add external jars, and inside that we have the Spring commons and the Spring 2.5.6. Would we add that particularly? Spring 2.5.6 and Spring login. And inside that Spring, we need to access this part. Click on this JDBC template now. Now you got this particular input. Previously we didn't have the input, right? Why? Because we are trying to access directly. So how to get the setter and getter methods? Simple thing. Public void, what you can say, GT. For what is the GT? Setter method, set GT. And what is the set GT? You can say we are setting that particular things. JDBC template is nothing but the reference we have, right? And now after the JDBC template, what you are trying to access, that we have to see. This dot JDBC object equals to the JDBC object which we are transferring from that particular main code. Okay, and after setting the things, public void, like give all, give anything you can add. I'm just writing a give all thing. Okay, so I can retrieve the JT and call a method known as query, like query for list. If you want, you can have the list. If you want, you can have this for the object. If you want, you can have it for the normal thing also. Map is also the list, object, everything. We have a method, right? So query for, what is the next thing we have? List. And inside the list, what we need to specify? Select star from, what is the table name we need? Is it single quotes or double quotes? We need the double quotes actually. And what is the table name you want me to use? Either I can use EMP45, yeah. If you want less columns, you can have the less columns also. Okay. Now, what's the return type of query for list? You can see inside the browser we might have these things. Query for list. So what's the return type of query for list? You can say list itself, right? Which takes the string as a parameter. String in the sense the SQL command, you can say. And we have to access this thing. The return type is list. So what's the return type list means here? We need to create a list reference. So list is what? Java.util, you can say. Import java.util. After using the list, I need to display the values. How to display the values? You can say system.out.println. I can directly display the value as li. If you want, you can use this particular method, setter, iterator, list iterator, right? If you remember the things,
Java.util.
yeah, java.util.iterator, and we have another thing known as list iterator. We got the values, right? Like these are methods we use, and by using these methods we can get these values one after the other in a one by one order, you can say. Now our logic. In our logic, how to execute these methods, and what is the sp-config you have written or we have to write. So already we need to create the sp-config object. So it should be in the src when I create config file. New other XML file. What is the XML file? Here we have taken XML file. And what is the XML file? You can give anything and just take the sp-config.xml. Same thing, just say finish. And if you understand, we need to access that thing. So the sp-config DTP code is there that we need to copy paste. I'm just copying it and pasting it here. And after that, we have what? The bin stack. And the bin stack consists of what? The same tags what we have already given here. Like the tags we have said that we'll be using, right? So either I can use a constructor or either I can use a particular setter injection, right? So here we need an ID, like we need to access the values. So what we are trying to access, that we have to see. This columns I will copy directly. We need to fill the values now. What values you are filling, that you have to see. So driver class name. What is the driver class name, you can say? Oracle dot driver dot, or you can say JDBC driver dot Oracle driver. So what is the username, like URL, you can say JDBC is there, and inside the JDBC we have the pattern, like what you can say, Oracle database you are connecting, thin is the driver, @ localhost is there, 1521 will be there, and XE. Same things. System is the username and manager is the password. Right, it's giving some error. The element type property must be terminated by the matching type itself. Like we didn't terminate the things, right? Okay. So we have use this for the username, password, system, and the data source template is there. The data source template, what you are trying to refer, we can say select. Okay. But apart from this, the JDBC template class is there. For that, we need to create an object. Like we have seen this thing, right? JDBC template class, what's that object we have created? ID1. And inside the ID1, I can use a property name or a particular constructor arg. Two things I can use. And inside the constructor arg, we can refer to the connection object, like the previous class tag. So what we have now, we need a constructor argument, so that directly we can use it the constructor way. So constructor arg means inside the constructor arg, we are giving that name, data source, right? So here the reference is bin. You don't require any property tag, you can say. The constructor bin should match with the things whatever we are having, right? So constructor arg, the spelling is correct? Yeah, it's constructor. Right? Next, reference. What is the reference we are trying to do? I am referring to the bin which is there, like here inside the connection. So this JDBC template object is being pointing to the connection con object here from this thing. Then we need to write the class, which is a class, you can say spring select. Like either you can take a spring select or you can take another thing. Any whatever the class you have written, for that class you need to write the bin tag. So how to write the bin tag? Bin id equals to what do you want, id2 you can say, and a class is there where we have this class com dot spring dot example, right? Com dot spring dot example. Inside that example we have this particular class. Did we created this hello world or okay? Sorry, I need this com dot spring JDBC, right? The SP config, which class we are using means com dot spring JDBC dot spring select. Inside the bin tag we write the property. What is the property name? We can say we have a property name as GT, I guess. Here spring select, what is that we are given? Yeah, JDBC template is GT. For the JDBC template object we are trying to create by passing the value. What is that value we are trying to create? Reference bin equals to that ID1. Simple thing. Here a spring select class is there. We need an object inside this so that we can access directly. Like we need to call the setter method. In order to call the setter method, we are using the set property, setter injection. But in order to send this path, we need a reference. What is the reference? You can say connection object is required. Where I will get the connection object? I'll get the connection object from this. But the connection object is taken by the JDBC template itself. So the JDBC template will refer to this particular connection object. And the JDBC object is being given to the spring select. Simple thing. This is a connectivity class. A class means object ikkada refer avutundi. Ee JDBC template lo store avutundi. A JDBC template oka object mana particular program lo manam send chestunnam. JD ki store chestunnam. Okay? Understood? So we need to access this particular spring main logic. C class unna oka class nunchi inko class ki object velutundi. Aa object anadi refer avutundi. Then we can connect to the database. Without that we can't connect. Right? ఎందుకంటే ఇందాక చూసాం మనం డేటా మేనేజర్ డేటా సోర్స్ అనేది తీసుకొని మనం డేటాబేస్ కనెక్టివిటీ చేయొచ్చు. అది చేసిన తర్వాతనే ఆ జేడీబీసీ టెంప్లెట్ కి మనకు ఆబ్జెక్ట్ వస్తుంది, అది కనెక్షన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ విచ్ వీ హ్యావ్ హియర్. అండ్ ఆ వచ్చిన ఆబ్జెక్ట్ నేను పంపిస్తున్నాను, మనం రాసిన కోడ్ లో జేడీబీసీ టెంప్లెట్ అనే ఉంది కదా, ఆ జేడీబీసీ టెంప్లెట్ కి యాజ్ ఎ పారామీటర్ గా పాస్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఓకే, so next after this we have our main logic to connect to the database. Spring class, we can say what, Spring JDBC or Spring JDBC connect. Inside this what we write, public static void main blocks. And we already know that commands are there, like the resource and the object and those things are common. Just copy pasting it. Right? So what's the file? spconfig file and the factory thing. And by using the factory, what we have to call? Factory dot get bin. Which object we are trying to get now? That object name we need to specify. So what is that object we have? ID2, I guess. The last object of string select. What is that last object of string select? That ID2 or ID1 we have. What is that? JT is the object where we have this reference ID2, right? And what is that JD? Like string select object is what? ID2. Yeah. ఈ స్ట్రింగ్ సెలెక్ట్ ఒక ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఏంటిది ID2. ఈ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ కావాలి ఎందుకంటే దాంట్లో మెథడ్ ఉంది. ఏం మెథడ్ అది? గివ్ ఆల్. గివ్ ఆల్ మీన్స్ ఆల్ ద రికార్డ్స్ యూ కెన్ సే. అది ఒక యూజర్ డిఫైన్డ్ మెథడ్. సో ఇక్కడ ID2 అనేది ఏ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అంటే స్ప్రింగ్ కాన్ఫిగ్ లో స్ప్రింగ్ సెలెక్ట్ ఒక ఆబ్జెక్ట్. ఆ స్ప్రింగ్ సెలెక్ట్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ తోటి నేను ఏ మెథడ్ ని కాల్ చేయొచ్చు? గివ్ ఆల్ అనే మెథడ్ ని కాల్ చేయొచ్చు. రైట్? నౌ వాట్ డస్ ID2 కన్సిస్ట్ ఆఫ్? What type of an object it consists of? String select. So directly చేసేయచ్చు. ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఉంది కదా, ఆబ్జెక్ట్ కాకుండా నేను డైరెక్ట్ ఏం చేస్తున్నా, ఇక్కడ క్లాస్ క్యాసింగ్ చేస్తున్నాను. స్ప్రింగ్ సెలెక్ట్. It's not linear, right? So after this we can call the jt.giveAll method. Save this part. Now try to execute this code. What is that code? You can say string select. Run this part. Sorry, it's reusing got executed. The JDBC connector we need to run. And as usual, we got an exception. What is that exception? You can say org dot spring framework, right? Framework. ఎక్కడ ఫ్రేమ్వర్క్ కాకుండా ఫ్రేమ్వర్క్ అని రాశాను. ఓకే, ఎస్పీ కాన్ఫిగ్ ఫ్రేమ్వర్క్. ఫ్రేమ్వర్క్ వచ్చిందా? ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ ఏంటిది అంతేనా? సో JDBC కనెక్ట్. What is the class name exception we have? Oracle.jdbc.driver. లోడ్ చేయలేదు అన్నది. ఎందుకంటే మన డేటాబేస్ కనెక్టివిటీ చేసేటప్పుడు ఖచ్చితంగా ఆ కాన్ఫిగర్ పార్ట్ లో అది ఉండాలి. రైట్? ఓకే, we need this Tomcat. Next, select on the JDBC connect. We got that ID, username, password, email, and the phone. This is a set of record. This is a set of record, right? And if you want multiple values, you can access directly from one after the other. సో మనం ఏం యూజ్ చేసామంటే జేడీబీసీ సెలెక్ట్ అయ్యి యూజ్ చేసాం. అండ్ ఆ జేడీబీసీ టెంప్లెట్ యూజ్ చేసి మనం ఈ మెథడ్స్ ని కాల్ చేయగలుగుతున్నాం, రైట్? బికాస్ ద క్వెరీ ఫర్ లిస్ట్ మీన్స్ విల్ గెట్ ద ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఇన్ ద ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ లిస్ట్. క్వెరీ ఫర్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అంటే ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఫార్మాట్ లో వస్తుంది, దాన్ని మనం టైప్ కాస్ట్ చేసుకోవాలి. లిస్ట్ అయితే ఏమవుతుందంటే డైరెక్ట్ మనం డిస్ప్లే చేసుకోవచ్చు అని చెప్పొచ్చు. ఏంటంటే ఇంటీజర్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ వాల్యూస్ కి సంబంధించిన క్వెరీ రాయాలి, ఓన్లీ ఇంటీజర్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ వాల్యూస్ మాత్రమే రిట్రీవ్ అవ్వాలి. లిస్ట్ అంటే heterogeneous, any type of values we can store. Duplicate also it allows, right? And the sp config file we need to access. That's it. Any doubts in this thing, in this connectivity?
In the config file, can we do auto varying so that we don't need to write anything?
Where you want to do auto
type? Instead of constructor arg, why don't we write like auto varying?
Yeah, this is mandatory.
Yeah, that one is mandatory.
This you need to write. Yeah, first one is mandatory. Then after that, one class object need to access with another class. We need this auto varying here. So you are saying in this bin class you want to do auto varying.
Yes. Can we do that?
I didn't try it. So once you try and let me know then, because just auto varying by type or by name, what you want to do?
By type.
But
because
here,
by name we can't do it.
Yeah.
Because that object is different and this object is different.
Yeah. So what's the type you can specify then?
What is the type? Just to write by type, that's it. We don't need to mention anything, right?
No.
Equal to by type.
Type means క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ రెండు క్లాస్ నేమ్ అన్నా ఉండాలి సేమ్, అప్పుడు యాక్సెస్ అవుతుంది. ఇక స్ప్రింగ్ సెలెక్ట్ కి దీనికి ఈ రెండు డిఫరెంట్ క్లాస్ కదా. సీ ద ఆటో వేరింగ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఫర్ బై టైప్. అక్కడ ఏంటంటే రెండిట్లో క్లాస్ నేమ్ అనేది సేమ్ ఉంటే అప్పుడు అది యాక్సెస్ అవుతుంది. అంటే కేటగిరీస్ లో మనం బుక్ అనే రిఫరెన్స్ ఉంది, బుక్ లో అది సేమ్ ఉంటుంది. సో కేటగిరీస్ లో బుక్ ఉంది, బుక్ అనే దాంట్లో బుక్కే ఉంది, అట్లా మనకి మ్యాచ్ అవుతుంది బై టైప్.
అంటే కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఆర్గ్ లో మనము కాన్ రిఫరెన్స్ ఇస్తున్నాం అంటే ఖచ్చితంగా దీని హోల్డింగ్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అక్కడ ఉన్నట్టే కదా. కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఆర్గ్యుమెంట్ వచ్చేసరికి అక్కడ
బై టైప్ రైట్. ఓకే, యా. సో ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే జస్ట్ ఈ కనెక్షన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ని జేడీబీసీకి ఇస్తున్నాం. ఆ జేడీబీసీ యొక్క ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ని మళ్ళా నన్ను మన క్లాస్ లో ఉన్న జేడీబీసీకి ఇవ్వాలి, జేడీబీసీ టెంప్లెట్. అందుకు మనం స్ప్రింగ్ సెలెక్ట్ లో ఈ జేడీబీసీ టెంప్లెట్ జేటీ అంటున్నారు. ఆ ప్రాసెస్ అయితే అర్థమైంది అందరికి? ఎనీ డౌట్స్ ఇన్ దిస్ థింగ్? So if you want, use this auto varying thing, and tomorrow we'll see the JDBC template update and insert. Insert ela cheyali. Based on that, we can write the insert the records, and already we have seen the retrieving the records. A query for list undi kada, aa methods ni try cheyandi. It's better because query for list ante manam insert chestunnama, delete chestunnama, em chestunnama direct telustundi. So దీంట్లో కూడా మీకు ఈ మెథడ్స్ ని కాల్ చేసేటప్పుడు జస్ట్ వీ నీడ్ టు చేంజ్ ద మెథడ్ టైప్. ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం ఇక్కడ, మెథడ్ క్వెరీ ఫర్ లిస్ట్ కదా. అదే మనము ఇన్సర్ట్ కమాండ్ అంటే ఏ పర్టికులర్ మెథడ్ యూజ్ చేస్తాం? రైట్ ద ఇన్సర్ట్ థింగ్. వాట్ ఇస్ ద మెథడ్ వి యూజ్?
అప్డేట్.
యా, వాట్ ఇస్ ద మెథడ్? అప్డేట్ మెథడ్. సో సింపుల్ చెప్పాలంటే ఇక్కడ 4 ఉన్నాయి. అపార్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ దట్ స్టూడెంట్ ఉంది కదా, స్టూడెంట్ అనే దానికి ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడ మెథడ్ రాస్తాం. సింపుల్ థింగ్, ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ క్వెరీ ఫర్ లిస్ట్ ఐ రైట్ అప్డేట్. అప్డేట్ రాసినప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, ఐ కెన్ జస్ట్ సే ఇన్సర్ట్ ఇంటూ స్టూడెంట్ అనే టేబుల్లో వాల్యూస్ ఇన్సర్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను. నేను ఇన్సర్ట్ చేసేటప్పుడు అక్కడ ఐడి ఇస్తున్నాను 102 032 and the value you can say is page, and that marks are, yeah, marks is nothing but we have some 88 marks. Directly we created the things, right?
No return type.
ఏంటది
రిటర్న్ టైప్
Yeah. రిటర్న్ టైప్ అనేది మనకి ఏంటిది ఇంటీజర్, అప్డేట్ కి ఇంటీజర్, ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ కి వాయిడ్, రైట్?
Yeah.
నేను జస్ట్ ఇక్కడ JDBC సెలెక్ట్ అని కొట్టి ఇక్కడ రన్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఎన్ని లోడ్ అయినాయి అంటే ఒకటి లోడ్ అయింది. అది ఎక్కడ చెక్ చేసాను? డేటాబేస్ లో. హౌ టు చెక్ దిస్ థింగ్? సెలెక్ట్ స్టార్ ఫ్రమ్ వాట్ ఇస్ దట్? స్టూడెంట్ టేబుల్ కదా, స్టూడెంట్ టేబుల్. ఇన్సర్ట్ ద రికార్డ్. డిలీట్ చేయాలంటే కూడా ఇక్కడనే ఏమని డిలీట్ చేయొచ్చు? ఇక్కడ సింప్లీ వీ కెన్ సే delete from what are the values? You can say student where SID equals to 1023. 1023 is there, right? Yeah. So if I run this thing, okay, ఇక్కడ ఇంటిగ్రిటీ కన్స్ట్రెంట్ ఉంది. అసలు ఫస్ట్ చైల్డ్ రికార్డ్ డిలీట్ చేయకుండా మనం పేరెంట్ రికార్డ్ డిలీట్ చేయలేదు. ఓకే, వేరే పర్టికులర్ టేబుల్ మీద క్రియేట్ చేస్తే మీకు ఎలా అంటే లైక్ ఇక్కడ 22 ఉంది కదా, I just want to delete the 22 record, EMP 45, where ID equals to 45, 22 కదా. Click on JDBC and call a method. Delete అయిపోయింది. If you select the things, we remove the 22, 21 వచ్చింది. Okay, that's the thing. జస్ట్ ఐడి అనే మొత్తం రో అంతా డిలీట్ అయ్యాయి. 2 rows సేమ్ ఉన్నాయి అనమాట. ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడ నేను 22 కాకుండా 21 అని పెట్టాను అనుకోండి, దాంట్లో ఉన్న వాల్యూ కూడా డిలీట్ అయిపోయింది. No row selected because 21 record also is getting deleted. So insert update delete అనేది మనము by using this JDBC చేయగలం. సో ఆబ్జెక్ట్ పాసింగ్ ఎక్కడి నుంచి ఎక్కడ అవుతుంది అది ఇంపార్టెంట్, అది ఎలా చేస్తున్నాం అనేది ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఓకే, సో ప్రాపర్టీ ట్యాగ్ యూస్ చేసి ఎలా చేస్తున్నాం అది చెక్ చేయాలన్నమాట. ఇక్కడ వరకు క్లియరా? ఇన్సర్ట్ అప్డేట్ డిలీట్ అనేది. ఎనీ డౌట్స్? సో try with all the commands, and after trying the commands we will see the next concept tomorrow at same time we'll have the class. Okay na? So string AOP is the next concept. String JDBC అంటే ఈ మెథడ్స్ యూజ్ చేసి మనం కాల్ చేస్తున్నాం అని చెప్పొచ్చు. And in the real time we are not using the string JDBC, we use the string Hibernate. String with Hibernate integration, అదే ORM అంటారు. స్ట్రింగ్ ORM అంటేనే దాంట్లో ఆబ్జెక్ట్ రిలేషన్ మ్యాపింగ్ యూజ్ చేయాలి, దానికోసం మనం హైబర్నేట్ యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఓకే, the aspect oriented programming introduction and the coding part is important again because it's a new module. Clear? Yeah, so that's it for today. We'll meet tomorrow. Let me try to upload the video.
Okay.